Right, you are all good to go.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lee Eck. I am Vice Chair of the City of Albany Industrial Development Agency. Today, acting as Chair. We have a meeting for Wednesday, August 9th, 2023. First item on the agenda is roll call and reading and approval of the minutes of the Finance Committee meeting July 2012. The meeting minutes are attached. If we do not need to read the minutes, if there are no corrections, we could have a motion to accept. Second. All those in favor? Aye. None opposed, motion carries. We can move into first order of business is the report of the Chief Financial Officer.
So I will start and then we'll turn it over to Tom if there are any questions here. This is a little out of cadence for us, but I did say that we would come back to the finance committee to talk about the quarterly financial performance. We're just ironing out a couple of the details. And so we did parse through the variance that was posted on agency fees under revenues. Bring your attention to that line. That was due to projects that we had anticipated closing earlier, not closing until after the close of the second quarter. And so most of that you will be reported on our next quarterly update that will bring us closer to what has been budgeted for the year. For that line, we do have just about $60,000 of variance that we are still anticipating based on projects that we do not believe will close before the end of the year. And so we'll be tracking that throughout, that is a little additional detail on that line. The other line that we had talked through was under the expense line, the professional services contract. So as anticipated, the line that you had seen in last month's quarterlies had reflected the Liberty Park legal fees within that line item. They have since been broken out into the special legal expenses, the line item you see below that. And as you'll recall, those expenses are directly offset by the escrow account that has been provided by Capital Development Corporation that does fund all expenses related to Liberty Park. So you see a little bit of change in format on this, but that should clarify. Want to add anything to that?
No, them all.
Somebody? Okay.
We don't need a motion for that. Or do we need another?
No, we're very good.
And so we can go on to unfinished business. First item A is 324 State Street LLC. Discussion and possible positive negative recommendation for a public hearing resolution.
Yes,
Turn it over to Andy.
thank you, Lee. This project was introduced at the previous finance committee meeting last month. We've been taking a deeper dive into the details and analysis here today, and we'll start with the project summary. So as a refresher, the project involves the redevelopment of approximately 40,000 square foot building in the Center Square neighborhood that is owned by the College of St. Rose, and that property is looking to be redeveloped into 29 Market River. We're going to run down our project summary, and there's a few things we're going to hold off on getting detail on. But we'll start with our estimated project real property benefits. One thing we want to note that looking at the analysis of this project, the request at hand is a bifurcated pilot structure. The reasoning being there may be the ability for the project applicant to seek historic tax credits. So we'll be talking about two different scenarios, those being two different pilot scenarios as we discuss the summary. So for scenario A, which contemplates not using historic tax credits, the revenue gain to the taxing jurisdictions is approximately $1.265 million. You'll notice that the status quo is zero as this property, is wholly exempt on the list. Scenario B, which contemplates the utilization of historic tax credits, you can see a projected pilot impact payment of approximately $1.17 million. And the property value increase, the The project, in conversations with the assessor, we expect it to be set at a $700,000 value, which is the sales price less FF&E that is required to be obtained as part of the purchase. You can see the increase to the projected $1.773 million for a net increase of approximately $1.1 million. We're going to run through the community benefits in detail coming up, and there's some interesting things to talk about there. One thing that you do see missing is our typical in-plan analysis that analyzes the employment impact on site. That is in the works through our partners at CDRPC. We expect to have that in hand for the finance committee meeting next month, and we'll be able to speak to that at that time.
I know that that delay is not project related. I believe it's just summer related.
And looking at the employment impact, the project is projected to create 2 permanent jobs on site and at least 20 full-time construction jobs on site for the renovation. The project is approximately a $6.5 million investment, and the applicant is also seeking sales and mortgage recording tax exemptions. One thing to note is, as we've discussed in the past, based on the current economic climate here in the Albany area and nationwide, our framework had been undergoing a refresh, and in that interim period, we had decided to bring on a third party to analyze all projects. This is no different here. A third party was brought on to do a financial analysis, looking at the appropriateness of the assumptions and also the reasonableness of the requested assistance. The executive summary of that report has been included as part of the materials packet, with the conclusion that both pilot scenarios, which we'll go over in detail, scenario A and B, both are appropriate and provide reasonable returns. Any questions on the overarching project summary? Great. We are going to now take a look at our score. Again, noting that this project was evaluated outside the framework, taking that into account. However, you will see here that the score has come in lower than sometimes what we typically had seen in the past, with the framework that was up and running. But let's run through those points. Under revitalization, identified priority, the project received 1 point for currently being tax exempt. The project receives 1 point for being historic preservation. The building is at least 50 years old and located within Center Square, Hudson Park Historic District. Permanent jobs, no points for permanent jobs. However, for construction jobs, the project receives 1 point for an estimated 20 construction jobs. Financial commitment, the project receives 1 point, again, $6.5 million investment, and 1 point each for the community commitments of regional labor, utilizing 90% regional labor for construction jobs, and City of Albany labor, utilizing 25% City of Albany residents during construction period. So again, the overall score is lower than we've seen, but taking into account the recalibration that will be happening with the project evaluation and assistance framework, and also looking at the fact that there is a statewide initiative to create more housing, coupled with the fact that this is surplus institutional property. There are some benefits to this that our current, or I should say previous framework scoring mechanism is unable to account for, and we'll continue to hone in on recalibrating the scoring going forward.
And as we discussed, we are going to continue to provide these sheets for you to act as reference, really using the previous framework as a guide for our discussions and sort of a baseline that we're talking from. But again, as we're in this interim period, we're in sort of a strange spot that we are just analyzing project by project using some of that previous experience as a guide.
Any questions or discussion on anything? So we would look to move this forward. Or?
We'd like to get into a little bit of the financial analysis. So typically, this is the meeting in the cadence of review where we would dive a little deeper into the numbers. Staff has been able to do that over the previous several weeks, working back and forth directly with the applicant. We also have our third-party analysis from WZHA. In the public materials, there is the executive summary, but in the written materials, we do have some additional detail in that analysis. For that, outside of the sort of executive summary version, we would suggest an executive session to discuss the financial history of the organization. But we can give sort of the high-level headlines in open session.
Sure. Looking at the specific request that came in for this project, the scenario that does not contemplate historic tax credits. We certainly looked at all aspects of the developer's pro forma and trying to keep in mind the instability in the financing world. One of the major driving factors of this project being able to pencil or not pencil, depending on how you look at it, is interest rates, which, as we all know, have been picking up consistently and are quite a bit higher than they were even a year ago. So taking that into consideration, the requested pilot is the pilot that the previous project evaluation and assistance framework had allotted for projects with an assessed value in excess of $100,000 per unit. So it is quote unquote a familiar schedule to us here. And what that did in examining the financial performance of the project going forward, and of course in consultation with a simultaneous independent review done by a third party, it did provide an appropriate level of assistance to allow the project to move forward, but also to potentially account for any changes that may take place in the financial climate in the future. And again, we can get into more detail at your discretion.
And so before diving into that, I'd note in the rest of your packet, you do, as you had at the previous meetings, have the copy of the application in your packet. There's also a copy of the cost benefit analysis done for each project in there as well. If we have any questions for open session, we could do that now. Otherwise, we could move into executive session with members of the public not associated with the project to step out of that. Non-financial questions?
So move. Second.
So Brandon, there's a small conference room or the kitchen, either one.
It's a small competition there.
There's coffee. Like a bird covering, yeah, it's a mess. Make sure.
You get the one that's figuring it. Put it down.
That's right, the little one with the little. Put it in the budget for as we do that.
Well, talk to her, she's pretty crafty with that stuff, she would be able to come up with.
I know,
It's been working.
right?
Right, unless I are excited. With that, I would note that executive session has ended with no action being taken. During executive session, we did discuss the financial history of the organization. During that, and we're ready to be back in.
Next motion or next action, we just go to the next item, or do we need to finish this up?
There is the possibility of a resolution for overturn positive or negative. Move that forward.
I need a motion to move forward with the positive recommendation.
Okay. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so now we can move on to the next item under unfinished business, item B, 144 State Street LLC, the Renaissance Hotel. Again, discussion and possible positive, negative recommendation for a public hearing resolution, you know, that's that over there.
I don't think it is at the bottom. We'll turn that, but we're not.
So it really was just.
And-
Yeah, I just said the same. Like, that's red, that's good.
Office, yeah.
All right, great. Similar to the exercise we went through, we're gonna do the same thing for the next request at hand, which is 140 State Street LLC, the Renaissance Hotel Albany. Again, this project was introduced at the previous finance committee in July, and we'll run through our staff summary, initial findings, and potentially enter into an executive session at meetings. That's the financial status of the corporation. A little bit of background on this project. In 2014, City of Albany IDA approved financial assistance in the form of sales, mortgage recording, real property tax exemptions for the rehabilitation and redevelopment of the existing vacant historic structure at 144 State Street into what we now see as the Renaissance Hotel, which is approximately 180,000 square feet, has 203 hotel rooms, full service restaurant, and banquet and event space. The request at hand involves the proposal to invest an additional $3.5 million into the project to conduct renovations to the common areas and hotel rooms, while also requesting an amendment to the current pilot agreement, providing additional assistance to move forward with the project, maintain hotel operations consistent with the hotel's brand, given the financial hardships inflicted upon the project's financial performance due to the COVID-19 pandemic, combined with inflated costs of materials and project-specific labor cost escalations. So again, we will get into more detail on community benefits. Progressing forward through the project summary, we will also be conducting in-plan analysis, in-plan impact analysis, excuse me, on this project, which is currently being executed by Capital District Regional Planning, and we expect to have that in for the finance committee meeting next month. Looking at the employment impact, I want to briefly hit on this. The project is looking to retain 91 jobs on site. Of note, a lot of commercial entities, more specifically those in the hospitality industry, employment levels fluctuate throughout the calendar year. So, in speaking in detail to the project applicant, who is here with us today to answer any questions. We would expect that the jobs that are potentially reported at the end of the year will be at least 91. But it is dependent on points in time and levels of activity that fluctuate both in banquet activity and reservations. So just keeping that in mind.
I do want to underscore here a little bit too, this is a project that particularly post-COVID has been in our annual reporting for employment, something that the board has looked at carefully because of the impacts that have been felt, the level of employment that had been projected and committed to under the original pilot. The hotel had struggled to meet those, and the board reviewed that annually. So if you recall, way back in January, February, March of this year, we spent a lot of time discussing that. We had every year we receive documentation from the project as to why the job numbers were not really where we did take this as an opportunity with the applicant to really right size where the hotel sort of its stabilization performance at this point. And so that is one projected change to be able to really count that routine job number in 2023 reality.
That's great, thank you. Before we dive into the community benefits scoring, we would like to note that similar to the previous project, third-party consultant was brought on board to conduct a simultaneous analysis of both the appropriateness of the financial assumptions and also the reasonableness of the requested assistance. If Amy is going to pass out, if you could, the executive summary, which just came in, which does speak to the general request at hand. The requested assistance is in fact appropriate and within reasonable parameters. So we will have the full memo out to everyone. Definitely by the finance committee meeting next month, potentially earlier, as that is received, reviewed, and finalized. But we would not expect the end result to be different than what we see in front of you in the executives.
And WZHA has walked us through the details of that summary. We've been in direct contact with the principal of that firm throughout. So staff is aware of the contents of that. It just needs to be finalized in document form.
We will discuss that further. And lastly, just a note that this project is also requesting sales tax exemptions on the equipment and furniture and fixings and materials going in as part of the renovation. And also, this renovation being executed via equity, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Run down the scoring. So again, while this project was evaluated outside of our framework, we did think it important to go through this in a little step. And we would like to know, you can see the difference for the previous project to this project in scoring. We're going to go through each point by point. For revitalization, target geography, the project that received 3 points, 1 each for being located downtown, being located within a business improvement district, being located within the boundaries of neighborhood plan being impact downtown only. Identified priority, project is involved with historic preservation. There were historic tax credits originally as part of this project, and we'll speak to those at length in a bit. Identified growth area, hospitality is 1 point. Retained jobs, the project receives 3 cumulative points for the 91 that we spoke about, full-time jobs, and construction jobs, 1 point for an estimated 18 during renovation. The project also receives a point for a financial commitment of $3.5 million, which is 10 points. So again, we're going to continue to work through our refresh of our scoring mechanism and calibration, but just so that we can take a look and compare previous projects and eventually assumption sets. Questions? Comments?
We have a couple of overall, tweaks just to frame, the conversation on them before we jump into some of the financial analysis. This is, this request that we discussed last time is a little different from, other requests that we had in. This is an, existing piloted project that has new investment in the new project. Being the reason for the new, request at hand, so it would be an extension and modification of the existing pilot that is in there, so we're underscoring that. We have worked with council to really understand that there is a project here, there's an investment that is being made, which is why it is eligible to come in front of the Industrial Development Agency as a request, and so we'll again, we'll walk through some of that as we move through analysis of the project. With that, we have been going back and forth with the applicant on the financial analysis, whether being able to test the assumptions made in financial projections, also looking at performance previously, not just the impact of COVID, but really where the project is today and the ongoing financial performance of the project at hand. And so with that, sort of with an overall any additional questions, or if you need to talk about anything related to the financial history of the organization, you could suggest moving into executive session for that.
No general questions, something emotional to move into executive session. Second. All those in favor?
Was that first?
I made the motion.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor? No vote. Welcome back, everybody, and do we need to note for the record that we are out of executive session and that no action was taken during the executive session? Yes. And then turn it back over to you, Sarah.
So we've run through the, analysis. I would note the copy of the application is in, your packets as well as the cost benefit analysis, that is there. What, the decision in front of the committee today, is the possibility of a positive or negative recommendation for our public hearing resolution to the full board to consider the next meeting. So if we wish to entertain that, motion for.
So,
I'll second.
all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion carried.
To clarify, that was a positive recommendation. Yes. No, it's a threshold. Perfect. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on to no new business, seems that we have none. Is anybody- All right, then we go to other business. Do we have an agency update?
In respect of your time, nothing that can't hold until next week, nothing for the finance committee specifically. We do have a number of administrative items to go through next week.
And moving on to item B, compliance update. Are we compliant?
Same thing.
All right, with no further business before us, I would call for a motion to adjourn. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. None opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No.
If you didn't-